From world events to Washington and New York City, here's your concise world update for Thursday, February 5th. The United States and Iran have agreed to hold talks in Oman on Friday, even as sharp disagreements persist over the scope of the negotiations. Washington is pressing to include Iran's missile program, while Tehran has insisted talks be limited to its nuclear activities. Envoys from Russia and Ukraine met in Abu Dhabi on Wednesday for another round of U.S. brokered talks aimed at ending the nearly four-year war. Tunisian police arrested outspoken lawmaker Ahmed Saidani on Wednesday, in what appeared to be the latest move in a widening crackdown on critics of President Kai's side. A moderate socialist candidate is on track for a decisive victory over a far-right challenger in Portugal's presidential runoff on Sunday. Ryan Ruth, who was convicted of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump during the run-up to the 2024 election, was sentenced to life in prison on Wednesday. The Trump administration is withdrawing about 700 federal immigration enforcement agents from Minnesota.
I have announced effective immediately, we will draw down 700 people effective today.
But roughly 2,000 agents will remain in place, a figure that Democratic leaders in the state say is still far too high. Multiple segments of border wall construction are facing delays because final approval from Kristi Noem has not yet been granted. Violence and deaths inside U.S. state prisons have surged over the past 5 years, with inmate fatalities rising by nearly 50% as chronic staffing shortages left facilities increasingly strained. The Supreme Court on Wednesday temporarily allowed California to use a new congressional voting map that could give Democrats up to 5 additional seats in the House, marking the latest development in a nationwide redistricting fight ahead of this year's midterm elections. ICE debate emerges as the defining issue in a closely watched congressional race in New Jersey. With national attention focused on immigration enforcement and local governance, voters across the state are weighing how federal policy intersects with community life, economic stability, and public trust. A federal judge on Tuesday expressed sharp skepticism about the Defense Department's effort to censure and potentially demote Mark Kelly, questioning whether the Trump administration is unlawfully extending military speech restrictions to retirees. The state's High Court will decide if Virginia Democrats' gerrymander push can move forward. Mayor Zoran Mamdani is expected to endorse Hochul for re-election ahead of the Democratic Party's nominating convention on Friday. New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani has appointed Felisa Wisdom, the executive director of the Progressive New York Jewish Agenda, to lead the city's mayor's office to combat anti-Semitism. New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani is defending his administration's response to a historic and deadly cold snap as the city council prepares to hold oversight hearings to examine how the city handled the emergency, as cold weather death toll rises to 17. A long-sought internal memo showing that New York City officials feared widespread toxic exposure among first responders and survivors at Ground Zero. Just weeks after the September 11th attacks has surfaced, nearly 25 years later, decades after nearly the entire Jewish population of Syria left the country, a Brooklyn-based Syrian American is working with the Syrian government to restore Jewish religious and private property. U.S. stocks closed lower on Wednesday as a sharp sell-off in technology shares renewed concerns that lofty valuations and Wall Street's artificial intelligence rally may be losing momentum. The Bureau of Labor Statistics said Monday that its closely watched January jobs report would not be released as scheduled on Friday because funding for the Labor Department expired last week, although the agency has not said when the employment data will be published. From the Middle East to Wall Street, you're up to date.